a government that doesn't want to see you do what you're doing. They don't want your message to spread. And the more they push back, the bigger it gets. How concerned are you for an event that happened to Charlie Kirk to happen to you in the UK?
Yeah, I'm concerned.
And hello everybody, welcome back to British Stand. Guys, today we're going to be watching and reacting to the podcast yet again as Tommy Robinson comes out and speaks about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But has also asked the question by Patrick Bet-David on whether if he fears for his own life following that assassination. Guys, as always, we are going to be watching and reacting, but first please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Have a watch of this.
Charlie Kirk, when the events happened with Charlie Kirk, what was your reaction? When you saw Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, what was the first thing you thought about?
If I'm honest, I was sat with Tyler Olivier, Tyler Olivier, the American YouTuber. I was sat with him and I was at my mum's house and I looked down at my phone and saw Charlie Kirk's been shot. And if I'm honest, my own selfishness, I was worried about myself and I'm worried about my children because I know my children are about to see this. And when my children see this, I know they're going to get scared. Because when I was in jail, there's a gentleman called Salwan Mamika, who was a friend of mine. He was in Sweden. And when I was in prison this time, I set up a website called Save Salwan. And I travelled to meet him in Sweden just 18 months ago, 2 years ago, to tell his story, because I could see him getting assassinated. And when I was in prison, he was assassinated on a live stream for his criticism of Islam. So, and when that happened in prison, I know my children, because I spoke to my ex-wife, she said that my son hadn't stopped crying. And he just hasn't stopped crying because he was so scared, because he sees me as that same target. So when this happened with Charlie, I was sat there because I was doing a podcast and I saw it pop up on my phone. And then I saw, boom, my daughter, my son, my other daughter. So I saw the messages coming in. And then obviously I know how much it's going to affect me, but it affects them. And I know Charlie Kirk had children and they were watching and his wife was there. But a target was put on Charlie Kirk, just as a target's been put on me. Now, the problem is, it's put on, let's not say it's by the left. It is the left in America. My targets put on me are also put in by any establishment figures. For example, there's a woman called Camilla Tominley. Now, when I was in prison this time, she's a right-wing commentator, works for right-wing media. She said I was a white supremacist on national TV. Now, if you take what she said, she said I was a white supremacist, which I'm not. There's no evidence in that. There's no truth in that. When she got interviewed recently and asked about that, she said, well, he believes that Christian culture should be dominant and more superior than Islamic. So what, that makes me a white supremacist, does it, love? It makes me a sensible Brit. But that's what she said. So she said I was a white supremacist. Then there was another one called Julie Hartley-Brewer who said I'm an extreme racist. There's no evidence to none of these things, and they never back them up. But if, for example, I was at St Pancras train station where a gentleman come up and tried to attack me just a month ago, and it was massive news because there was a little video of him asleep on the floor, and then there was all the media painting a picture that I'd gone on the run, I'd violently attacked someone. Obviously, I had to do a police interview when I got back, but I was the victim. I defended myself. But people like that who attack me, they actually think they're making the world a better place. And the man who's just executed Charlie Kirk probably believes he is like the next Hitler. But they believe these things because they've been indoctrinated and the media have weaponized words against them and put a target on them. Same as in me. So I have people who come up to me, Patrick, who hate me. And I've had so many videos like this over the years. When I actually question them and stand there and talk to them, they don't even know why they hate me. They think I'm this racist and I'm this Nazi, but that's because the media's done a real good job to make me toxic, to attempt to have me toxic, so that no one actually listens to what I'm saying. Now, Jordan Peterson, I have to thank him. Jordan Peterson really brought me and his wife, brought me in from the dark. I was censored, I was deplatformed, I was invisible, and until I got my X account back. And then when I got my X account back, Jordan Peterson sat me down and done a podcast, which was a risk for him. Because at the time, anyone who talks to me comes under attack, and they have done for years. And well, we know this. You just had it from the Times, no? For your Minect app. But this targeting, they've been successful with to target anyone who could bring any credibility towards my message. Then they just hope, because of all the smears and the labels, people don't actually listen to what you're saying, and they don't. Well, they do now. They're starting to now.
Yeah, it's interesting you're saying this, because the Times reached out. They wrote an article about you on Manekt. And Rob, I don't know if you have the article or not. They reached out to us. They say, do you support the fact that Tommy Robinson, they sent a bunch of different questions, and they were able to get Facebook and Instagram to prevent Manekt from advertising on Facebook and Instagram for a full year, where we had to get legal involved, asking us, why would you allow Tommy Robinson to be on Manekt? We're like, what do you mean? Why can't somebody ask him a question? You know, he charges $28 a minute. That's his decision. If he thinks that's what he's worth and people are paying for it, you go put $50 if people want to pay for you. Nobody has a problem. You know, we got Tony Robbins is on Manekt, and he charges a lot more than that. You got, you know, athletes that are on there, business owners that are on there, actors that are on there. They get to pick and choose whatever they want to choose, whatever they want to charge. But it was interesting when they attacked us with this, just because some people want to ask you a question on Manekt.
Well, Patrick, you see what they've done to you. If it wasn't yourself and your belief probably in free speech, they'd have been successful with any other company. Yeah, they would have been successful. I'd have been kicked off. I'd have been silenced. And that has successfully worked for them. So as I said, you have the state, and then you have the weapon of the state, which is the media. The media want me silenced. So the state don't do it. They get the media to continually attack the companies that ever give us a platform. Or say for example, I don't know if you're aware of what happened. For 48 hours before this event in London, Westminster Council contacted the company which we use to host the event. Yeah. So Westminster Council contacted them and revoked our licenses to set up our speaker systems. So there could be no speaker systems. Yeah? That's 48 hours before the event. Now, and they told the owner of the company, we will personally prosecute you if you set up those speakers. That's what they told me. So we had an emergency meeting with the police, and we're sitting with the police. I've got the full video of this, which I'm going to release. Sat down with the police, said, they're trying to provoke us into violence on Saturday. If we don't have a way of talking to our crowds and a million people turn up, there's going to be anarchy. And the police are like, we don't want this. So there's been loggerheads. There's been a big internal thing with the police, because the council were then asking the police to enforce the license. The police have then sat down with us and said, we're not enforcing it. So we will not enforce and prevent you sticking up your speakers. And it was just the council attempting, which is the government attempting to provoke chaos on the streets of our capital city. That's not their job. Their job is to uphold democracy. We had the licenses. We applied for everything right. We jumped through every hoop possible. And still, this is what they're doing. And we've faced this for years. So I can't host an event in a building in the UK, and I just know I can't. Yeah. So I sold 1,000 tickets in a week for a sit-down event, £50 a ticket in Manchester. The council and the police, this is going back years, they went in to the venue and told them, we will take your alcohol license if you host this event. So that's sort of like what happens, and it's been a tried and tested method for the media. It works. As I said, they've gone beyond you, and they've managed to get Meta to make sure you can't go on there for 4 years. They've done this to me from every social media. As I said, I'm still banned. You can't even mention my name on Meta.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. It's wild. By the way, anybody that's watching this, if you want to support Tommy just to have free speech and you want to ask him a question or have a call with him, we'll put the link below in the QR code to support. You're there. There's tens of thousands of people behind you. News breaks, Charlie Kirk is shot, then assassinated at an event, public event, at a university in Utah. And I see reports here that shows 26 officers hurt. I don't know what the report is, but this is from Birmingham Live. There's another report saying 25 arrested. So you have a government that doesn't want to see you do what you're doing. They don't want your message to spread. And the more they push back, the bigger it gets. How concerned are you for an event that happened to Charlie Kirk to happen to you in the UK?
Yeah, I'm concerned, but I also believe that if it did, it'd be the final nail in their coffin, not mine. Well, it would be mine as well. It'd be the final nail in their coffin. No one knows what moment's going to spark the revolution. Or look, I've always known, looking at Europe, something's going to hit, and when it does, none of us are in control of it, but something's going to change the direction of Europe. Now, we are heading in the wrong direction. We're being replaced. We're under attack with mass immigration. Now, Northern Ireland, I don't know if you know about the history of Northern Ireland. Bloody Sunday changed the direction of Northern Ireland as a historic day. I believe if I was targeted in such a way, it would spark an uprising like the government had never even dreamed of. Or could never even dream of. So I believe that would happen. I had a lot of people telling me we should be careful, or you need to be extra careful. I probably do need to be extra careful. I walk everywhere without security. I had the incident recently at a train station in London. I don't have the funds to pay for 24-hour security, yeah, and I am living in amongst it within the UK as a target. But I just think I think that we got in this mess. We're in this mess through being careful. All of us as a country are in this mess through being careful. Now's not the time to be careful. And now's not the time to show any fear. I listened to what Charlie Kirk said. Charlie Kirk actually spoke up massively for me, but not just for me when I was imprisoned, for Brits' free speech. He got it. Go back to his comments from 2018. He fully understood what was happening with free speech. And then he travelled here recently. He helped shine the torch on it. And if you listen to what he says, and I think that that's what people should try to do, and he will inspire still now, even though he's dead, the next generation's videos will continue to inspire them. But they took him out because he was so influential in getting whether it be the forgotten or the young men to understand their identity, to understand their purpose, to give them faith. And that's what we said we want to do. Keir Starmer was voted in off 9 million votes. 20 million people just didn't vote, Patrick, in that election. That 20 million are us, the people who have been told their voices don't matter, their voices don't count. So we're there to tell them, no, your voices do count, and you do matter. And if we can captivate them, and we can electrify the working class. See, a lot of this comes down to class in the UK. They don't like us. That's the reality of it. The establishment do not like us. Okay. Now, we've got 650 politicians in Westminster. How many of them were there to speak to the neglected, forgotten people? How many of them? Not one. We had politicians flying from Poland, France, Germany, Belgium, all over Europe. Lead politicians come to speak to the British population. Not one, because the whole building is still the establishment. It doesn't matter if they say they're against the establishment on X. Yeah, if they say they're against the establishment, they'd have been there with the people. None. We want to be the cultural revolution, but this country needs a political revolution. But it needs a political revolution that doesn't censor the people getting involved in it. So, for example, the Reform Party, which is Nigel Farage, which I believe will win the next election, yeah, and will be a hell of a lot better than where we're at. But they still censor and ban. You can't talk about transgenderism. You can't talk about Islam. It's like we don't need a government that tells the public that they can't raise their concerns, and people are kicked out of their party for doing so.
Right.
Because that's an attack. That's an attack on free speech. Still, that's not believing in free speech. I saw Nigel Farage sat in America talking about free speech. They don't believe in free speech themselves. They just don't believe in it. Everyone has to sign an NDA. Everyone has to sign an NDA. Who's at the hierarchy of reform?
What do you mean by that? Signing an NDA for what?
Not to talk about me.
I don't know. You said Nigel Farage. Everyone has to sign an NDA. What do you mean by that?
I mean that as a political party, anyone who becomes a councillor or a member of parliament has to sign an agreement that they won't speak about up for Tommy Robinson.
Whether you agree with Tommy or not, guess what?
Yeah, very interesting listen. I always like to hear intelligent conversation between two people I'm very fond of. And it is very interesting. But, listen, at the end of the day, I couldn't believe that, of course, still to this day, despite sort of Mark Zuckerberg coming out, and actually I've had it in my own experience with it on Facebook, actually, is that I did a sort of reel, I think it's on British Stand Shorts, actually, with regard to Tommy Robinson, and it was the same short that was there, but I made it for Facebook. And it got taken down. It got completely removed just due to who it was, just due to being Tommy Robinson. So it's still there. And of course, further up the chain there, you're seeing stuff with sort of Patrick Bet-David and whatnot. And as stated, we've seen something with Charlie Kirk's assassination. That is absolutely disgraceful. But again, I always see Charlie as a guy that was fairly conservative as a person. He didn't really have outlandish views whatsoever, and was someone that sort of questioned debate. People would probably say that Tommy is more extreme than someone like Charlie Kirk. So possibly the fact that someone got targeted, Charlie got targeted like that, means that a lot of people are potential targets in the future, which is why everyone has to be super, super careful. But yeah, I'm interested to know your guys' thoughts down there in the comments section below with regard to that interview. As I stated, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more content just like this.